Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video title, General Hospital Preview. Is it RIP? Spoiler, as a killer commits a literal backstab. Introduction. A deadly game unfolds. General Hospital, the long-running soap opera that has captured audiences for over 6 decades, is known for its riveting plots, shocking twists, and unforgettable characters. As the show continues to explore the complex relationships and high-stakes drama of Port Charles, one thing is becoming increasingly clear: no one is safe. The latest developments on the show have viewers on the edge of their seats, especially with the ominous preview of an upcoming death, one that seems particularly brutal and personal. For weeks now, General Hospital has been building up to a shocking moment of violence, an act so intimate and chilling that it could forever change the course of the show. As the dark undercurrents of Port Charles come to the surface, it appears that a killer is on the loose, and the victim might be someone we least expect. The phrase backstabber has taken on a whole new, literal meaning as the show hints at an upcoming murder that will leave fans reeling. In this preview, we will dive deep into the latest twists and turns of the show. With rumors swirling, suspicions growing, and characters on high alert, we will dissect everything we know about the looming death and how it will impact the characters of Port Charles. Who is the victim? Who is the killer? And how will this shocking act of betrayal ripple through the lives of those who are left behind? Chapter 1. The Backstory. A Web of Betrayals. Before we dive into the specifics of this upcoming murder, it's important to understand the intricate web of relationships that has been building up to this point. General Hospital thrives on its deep character development and the complicated histories between its inhabitants, and this murder is no different. Every death in Port Charles has a backstory, an emotional baggage that makes it all the more devastating. This death is no exception, and its roots can be traced back to a series of betrayals, misunderstandings, and long-standing grudges that have been brewing for months, even years. One of the key players in this web is Spoiler, whose rise to power and influence in Port Charles has been marked by a series of calculated moves and personal vendettas. Spoiler is a character who has never shied away from making difficult and, at times, ruthless decisions. Whether it's in the boardroom, the family home, or the criminal underworld, Spoiler has always played the game with one goal in mind: winning. But as with all of General Hospital's morally complex characters, winning comes at a cost. Spoiler's ruthless actions have made them more enemies than allies, and it's only a matter of time before someone decides that enough is enough. The victim of this brutal backstabbing is closely tied to Spoiler, but not in a way that many fans might expect. While their relationship has been cordial, even friendly at times, the tension between them has been steadily increasing. The victim. Victim's name is someone who has stood in Spoiler's way in the past and recently made an unforgivable move that crossed a line. For months, they've been a thorn in Spoiler's side, and the seeds of resentment have been sown. Perhaps the most telling moment of all was when Victim's name made a critical mistake, underestimating Spoiler's ability to retaliate. Their arrogance, combined with a tendency to trust the wrong people, led to their downfall. But what makes this death so chilling is the fact that it wasn't just a random act of violence. This murder was personal. It wasn't just about eliminating a rival or silencing a threat. It was about revenge. And in typical General Hospital fashion, the method of this revenge is as symbolic as it is brutal. Chapter 2. The Literal Backstab. A Crime of Intimacy. The term backstabber has always been a metaphor for betrayal. But in this case, the killer is taking the phrase to a whole new level. As General Hospital fans know, the show is no stranger to intense, dramatic murders, but this one is shaping up to be particularly brutal and deeply personal. The act of backstabbing is often associated with betrayal, but in this instance, it's far more literal. According to our sources, the victim will meet their end in a shocking and gruesome way, by being stabbed in the back. This literal backstabbing takes on a more symbolic meaning as it's an act of vengeance, not just violence. The back, as the place where someone is most vulnerable, is an apt target. And for this killer, it's not just about the physical act of murder. It's about sending a message. This is a crime of intimacy, one that is carried out by someone the victim thought they could trust. The backstabber's motive seems to be rooted in both personal and professional betrayal. It's a culmination of years of rivalry, mistrust, and feelings of being wronged. What makes this murder particularly shocking is that the killer is someone who has been in the victim's inner circle. They've worked together, shared confidences, and perhaps even made promises to one another. But in the end, these alliances were shattered, and the killer decided that the only way to regain control was to eliminate the one person who stood in their way. As the show progresses, viewers will be taken through a tense, emotional unraveling of events. The lead-up to the murder will be full of red herrings and misdirection, keeping fans guessing about who the true killer is. But in typical General Hospital fashion, the truth will be revealed in an explosive moment that will change everything for poor Charles. Chapter 3. The Victim. A life cut short. To fully understand the impact of this murder, we must examine the victim. Victim's name. A key player in the drama of Port Charles. The victim has been a character who has had their fair share of ups and downs. They have made mistakes, sure, but they have also had moments of redemption and growth. It's this complexity that makes their death all the more tragic. Victim's name was someone who believed in loyalty and trust, values that ultimately led to their downfall. They trusted the wrong people, and their need for validation often clouded their judgment. As a result, they made enemies within their own family and circle of friends. But at the same time, Victim's name had people who truly loved and cared for them, which will only make their death that much more painful for those left behind. This is the tragedy of General Hospital. Death comes suddenly, and it often takes someone whose life was filled with both light and darkness. Victim's name was a person who made a mark on Port Charles, for better or worse, and their death will leave a hole in the lives of the people who knew them. The question remains, who will grieve, and who will use this tragedy to their advantage? For some, the death of Victim's name will be a call for justice. For others, it will be an opportunity to seize power. In the weeks following the murder, the people of Port Charles will be forced to confront their own roles in the events that led to this senseless act of violence. As the investigation unfolds, the dark secrets of the killer will come to light, and alliances will shift in unpredictable ways. Chapter 4. The Investigation. Who is the killer? As with any great General Hospital storyline, the aftermath of a murder is always filled with intrigue, mystery, and a wealth of suspects. Fans will be left on the edge of their seats as the investigation into Victim's name's death unfolds. The detectives of Port Charles, whether it's the ever-astute Dan Falconeri or the quick-thinking Sam McCall, will be on the case, and they will have their work cut out for them. There are a few key suspects who immediately come to mind. The first is Suspect 1, a character whose relationship with the victim was always tense. Suspect 1 has had a number of confrontations with the victim, some of which have left lasting emotional scars. Could their simmering rage have finally boiled over? Was this a crime of passion? Or is there another motive at play?